Hello there, it is Veronica Valley. It is the evening, and I am here to do a quick training on what is emotional sobriety. So let me just, as usual, share this into my group so that they can see it too. Share to group, and then we'll get started. And let's go live on Instagram. Okay, we are now live. Okay, so we're talking about emotional sobriety. So you've obviously heard about getting sober, but what is emotional sobriety? So sobriety is we stop drinking, we live our lives without using alcohol, our lives are much better. But there's a whole new level to sobriety, and that's emotional sobriety. So stopping drinking is not enough. Just stopping drinking. You've all figured that out, right? You can't just stop drinking and that is enough. We have to do more if we really want the lives that we deserve, the lives that we've been searching for, the lives that alcohol have been promising us. So stopping drinking isn't enough. We have to get emotionally sober as well. So the best way I have of describing this is emotional sobriety is having appropriate emotional responses to events. So in the past, when I wasn't emotionally sober, when I was still at the mercy of my emotions, I would feel depression, overwhelm, sadness, frustration, anger, all of those, even kind of some of the positive feelings like, I don't know, kind of ecstasy or excitement, I would always experience those quite inappropriately and in an unbalanced way. I had no dominion over my emotional well-being. I was at the mercy of my emotions. And when bad feelings hit, I wasn't able to deal with them very well. I just reacted to them, and what I wanted to do was run or numb. So emotional sobriety is when we have an appropriate emotional response to an event. So something sad happens, I feel sad. If something frustrating happens, I feel frustrated. If something happy happens, I feel happy. And my default position is just balanced. That's my default position. My default position before was frightened, lost, and discontented. That was my default position. That's like where I always went back to. Now I just go back to this emotionally balanced place. I don't know about you. I remember always living in my life in this kind of perpetual state of looking forward to something happening. Like, this is going to happen. It's going to be amazing. Like a vacation, a date, or whatever. And then whatever the event was would happen. It would never live up to my expectations, and then I'd feel this crushing low when it was over. I don't experience any of that anymore. Like if I go on vacation, I look forward to going on vacation. That's an appropriate emotional response. I have a great time on vacation mostly. And when I'm home, and then I get home, I'm always happy to be home because I like to be in my own bed, and I always have stuff to get on with and look forward to. So I don't have that emotional unbalance anymore. It's about having access to our full spectrum of emotions, because we can't selectively numb our feelings, which is what we've been doing. And when we have been numbing our feelings, we've been numbing the good as well as the bad. So when we get sober, we get our feelings back. And at first, it's really, really rocky. And you do need to expect that, because we're kind of emotional teenagers. There is a kind of theory that when we start abusing alcohol, is the age we kind of stay stuck at emotionally. And for a lot of us, it's teenagers. I know it was true for me. So I was 27 when I got sober, but I was emotionally about 13 or 14 because I just hadn't the capacity or bandwidth to grow emotionally. Now, how do you grow emotionally? You grow emotionally from dealing with your emotions when different things happen. So this is kind of a hot topic at the moment amongst parenting. So you've probably heard of the phrase like bulldozer parents or helicopter parents. And what's happening there is parents are stealing from their children opportunities to experience and develop resilience. Resilience is essential. We all have to, I mean, if you want to be happy, we have to experience adversity and difficulty in order to be able to experience resilience and get resilient. However, if parents just clear obstacles out of the way and make things better, children just don't have the opportunity to learn that. And as adults, it becomes very dysfunctional for them. So it's kind of like that, in that we just don't get to experience things and get the emotional benefits from dealing with something that's disappointing and finding our way through that, or dealing with a breakup appropriately, all of that kind of stuff. So if we don't have those, if we're just numbing and running, we don't get to have that emotional development. That's really, really, really important for sobriety and key for emotional sobriety. So that's why we're quite immature emotionally when we stop drinking. So we get our bandwidth back when we get sober, and our bandwidth is all of that headspace we spend thinking about drinking, not drinking, whether we drink too much, what other people think about our drinking, blah, blah, blah. Once we get that bandwidth back, that is the bandwidth we need to dedicate to growth and emotional sobriety. So one of the things I teach my clients all the time is observing yourself with curiosity, not judgment, because that's a way to begin to understand why am I feeling this way? Why am I having this experience? Why am I having this reaction to what somebody just said? Hi, Lisa. So observing ourselves with curiosity, not judgment, is one of the things that you can sort of practice at connecting to your body. Is another thing. It's like why our emotions show up in our bodies physically, in our heart racing and our stomach clenching or whatever it is. And instead of just reacting, sitting and asking yourself, why am I feeling that way? Trying to understand what happens. So it's interesting, today in the Sober for Life program, we just did a workshop on empowering habits. Empowering habits is just discipline that we need to cultivate to anchor our sobriety. And one of the things we need to do with empowering habits is the way that we use it is we need to self-reflect on what's going on with us. We need to reveal ourselves to ourselves. And I was teaching that today, different ways of doing that in the Empowering Habits workshop. How can we reveal ourselves to ourselves and really see what's going on actually, so that we can learn and grow and move on? Apologise if you're listening to this on Instagram, because it keeps telling me it's paused due to a connection, so I don't know what's happening there. So that's, for instance, one of the things we teach in Sober for Life is empowering habits, so you can begin to learn to understand your feelings. Your feelings and emotions are your navigation system. Like, it's like going through life without the instruction manual. Once you get an understanding of how to deal with your feelings and emotions, it's like having the instruction manual to life, and it's fantastic. For instance, one of the things that people like us struggle with is feeling uncomfortable. And I know for me, I would just, a bottle of wine was the answer to that. But, and we were talking about this today in the workshop in Empowering Habits, that all of us have upper limits. And upper limits is a belief about how successful we can be in certain areas. And when we hit an upper limit, say how much money you can make or how successful you can be in your career or whatever, when you hit that upper limit, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Hi, Elizabeth in Australia. So when we hit upper limits, it gets uncomfortable. And we have to be able to sit with that discomfort in order to get the growth to be able to move through the upper limit. But if we can't sit with discomfort, we're never going to be able to break through those upper limits and get to the next place, the next chapter. We're going to stay stuck. So I want you to think about what have your emotions been teaching you? What have you learned about yourself through listening to your emotions? We have a lot of workshops in the Sober for Life program where we teach this stuff, because I'll say this again, I'll say this a million times. Alcohol is not your problem. It's a symptom of the problem. Your problem is how you feel and how you think, and understanding that is essential to your sobriety. Essential to your sobriety. So, when you join the Sober for Life program, we have a whole library of workshops that we've done. We've done stuff on relationships and boundaries and trust and ones that we have coming up, Chip is going to be doing a 2-part workshop on the cycle of grief and the 4 tasks of mourning. Now, obviously, a grief to do with if you lose someone you love, but it's also really just we go through the cycle of grief when we lose something we care about, and that could be alcohol. I warn all of my clients when they stop drinking, you are going to go through the grief process. That's just completely part of the process, and we can't change that. So understanding that would make it so much easier. So that's taking place in November. So if you want to get in on that workshop, please join the Sober for Life program. Membership is open for the next 7-8 days. The membership closes next week. As soon as you join, you get access to everything. You get access to all of the stuff that's scheduled. We have a live Q&A session. We have a recovery coaching group where you get to be live with either Chip or I and get some coaching on anything that's bothering you. And I think we have one of those scheduled next week, I believe. And you get to be part of the community, which is the most important thing. So if you want to join, the link is in my bio. The link is in the description. The sooner you join, the sooner you are able to access all of the material. I always recommend to people, like, watch 1 or 2 videos a week. You don't have to dive in and watch everything immediately. It's not a course. The whole idea is, as we grow and change in our sobriety, we hit these different obstacles. Sober for Life will have a resource for that. And if we don't have it, Chip and I will do it for you. So join me tomorrow where I have another workshop. If you check the event section in Facebook, on my Facebook page or in the Facebook group, you'll see what's coming up next. And I hope that you will join us in Sober for Life so you can be more than just sober. You can also have emotional sobriety and begin to learn those tools and skills that will get you not just sober, but emotionally sober too. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.